The story begins with a story about the youngest martial artist in the world, Wu Xinghe. The young martial artist Wu Xinghe, for mocking a large number of people, was subjected to revenge for his atrocities. In the battle with his enemies, he flared up and used the strongest Kai energy, scattering all his rivals in a wave, terrifying them, but failing to cope with it, eventually fell, being absorbed by it. But the story of Wu Xinghe did not end with the absorption of Kai energy. The soul of the young martial artist Wu Xinghe was reborn in the body of the young King Wushuong. King Wushuong himself belonged to the lowest noble rank. Wu Xinghe, persecuted wherever he went and came, the one who hates evil, decided and chose the path of comprehending the peaks of martial arts. Night fell on the industrial zone of the city, illuminated only by the light of a bright moon. In a deserted industrial zone, there are only faded factories, a lot of abandoned construction debris, and black crows that break the grave silence with their cry. But the guests of the destroyed zone are not only crows, but also several people standing opposite each other. Standing on huge pipes, illuminated by the light of the moon, 4 people in long black raincoats, with burning red evil eyes and crazy smiles, look down at a guy with a lifeless girl in his arms. One of the crowd tells the black-haired young man, calling him Wu Xinghe, that the guy is so important to people that someone from the top offered a very good reward for his capture and head. A guy in a black raincoat tells a young martial artist that he will die today, to which he silently gently lowers the body of a blonde girl to the ground. Wu Xinghe, being sad and furious at the death of his dear sister, frowning and flashing golden eyes, promises that the murderers will pay with blood for the death of his beloved sister. A man with white hair and wavy tattoos on his arms laughs loudly at the guy's words and says that for a person in a very precarious position, Wu Xinghe talks too much. As soon as the man finishes his speech, the guy attacks with lightning speed, not allowing the opponents to attack first and speak further. Wu Xinghe flies up to the man at the speed of light and punches him in the face with all his might. The man, confused, does not have time to put a block and allows himself to be hit. The guy's blow was so strong that the man instantly loses consciousness, flying off into the floor, destroying it into large fragments, losing half of his teeth along the way. The rest of the guys in raincoats, who were watching this, could only stare in horrified surprise at the stricken ally, who was sprawled on the debris from the floor. Wu Xinghe furiously looks at the other guys in raincoats until they decide from all sides, all together, to attack only one guy. He, in turn, standing still, collecting and concerting explosive Kai around him, tells his rivals to go to hell. Wu Xinghe releases all his concentrated Kai energy, scattering all enemies with a bright blast wave that they fly into the walls, losing consciousness. The building begins to collapse from the Kai energy, falling to the floor, collapsing into small pieces. The guy looks at the crushed and defeated enemies, when suddenly his heart is stitched with a painful cramp. With his eyes wide open, with his capillaries broken, the guy realizes with horror that in order to win, he used his true Kai to strengthen himself, which is abuse. A dark aura begins to thicken around Wu Xinghe and dust rises. He groans in pain and realizes that such an abuse of Kai energy will end very badly for him. Through the haze, barely opening his eyes from the pain, the guy stretches out his hand to the lying sister, desperately calling her, trying to reach his sister, but to no avail. A haze envelops him, and he closes his eyes, falling into oblivion. While still conscious, he thinks that unexpectedly, he, Wu Xinghe, the youngest master of ancient martial arts, ended his life in a similar way. He thinks how sad his end is until Wu Xinghe's consciousness completely dissolves into a haze. In a bright universe, there are many different planets that differ from each other in size, color, and atmosphere, as well as a huge number of blinding stars. One of these stars, lightning fast, crosses the entire outer space, bursting into the Earth's atmosphere, a bright meteorite. The burning star has its own path and its own destination. It lands directly in the country of Beiyu, surrounded by many majestic mountains. In the pitch darkness, the voice of a young girl is heard calling someone by name and begging to wake up. But no one answers her pleas to wake up. Then the girl stubbornly continues to call and beg for awakening. The first thing the awakened person sees is a crying red-haired girl in a white robe. The guy with black hair opens his eyes abruptly and jumps up, shouting and calling his sister. A girl sitting on a chair near the bed where the guy is, wipes her tears with her palms and calls a guy named Wushuong. The girl, with relief in her heart, seeing that the guy has woken up, begins to cry harder and rushes to hug him, stuttering along the way, saying that she is glad to wake up Wushuong, who, as she was told, was killed in a duel. The guy is confused, in no hurry to rejoice and hug her back. On the contrary, he He thinks who this girl is and why she so suddenly pounced on him with hugs. The girl, crying bitterly, says that she questioned all the doctors and everyone, as one said that the guy would not survive after the fight. The young man is confused, does not understand what Wushuong and the duel the girl is talking about, looks at his hands, surprised to notice that they are very small. Then, the guy looks around and only now notices the unfamiliar environment around. A huge living room in light colors and a large bed in the middle. A light breeze blows from the open window, swaying the burgundy curtains. Outside the window stretches a wonderful view of high, green and majestic mountains that surround the whole country. After looking at the amazing and unfamiliar view from the window, the guy remembers with horror about his murdered sister, who is still lying in the wreckage of the old factory. In a panic, the young man grabs the girl, who does not understand anything, asking where his sister is. She gently takes him by the shoulders and, wondering, says what is wrong with him. Does he not recognize his sister? To which the young man asks in surprise if she is his sister. Puzzled, examining a red-haired girl with big, amazed, blue eyes, the guy notices that she looks 17 or 18 years old, looks very similar to his real sister. The guy gets out of bed, holding his head, while the girl asks him if everything is okay and if he has any pain. The young man argues that if he was absorbed by Kai energy, he should be dead now. He notices a mirror standing next to the bed, runs up to it, puzzled, and looks at his reflection in it, seeing a completely different person. Looking at himself in the mirror, he realizes that he has become a black-haired boy, with big blue eyes like the girl next to him, and strange triangular marks under his left eye. When suddenly the bandaged head is pierced by a strong pain that the guy grabs it, grunting and absolutely not understanding what is happening to him at all. Suddenly, memories of this life come to him. Kai Wushuong, a child from an impoverished aristocratic family from Donglan King City. He lives with his father and his only sister. Also, Wushuong is studying at the Wudong Academy. Due to the interests and rumors swirling around the entire nobility, Wushuong Academy was often bullied by noble children from more noble families. There are memories of past times when Wushuong was bullied by noble children, saying that he was unworthy to study at their academy, laughing at the fact that the young man could not even stand up for himself, pushing him to accept a challenge to a duel from a certain Xian Jiang. In Wushuong's memories, children dressed in white clothes, wearing the same haughtily smiling mask on their faces, called names and laughed in the face of the young man, to which he only clenched his fists until they squeaked. Further memories, like these same children, kick Wushuong with their feet, telling him to die and giggling viciously. The young man thinks that, apparently, that Xian Jiang is a real scumbag. Also, he reflects that his soul could have migrated into the body of this child King Wushuong. Looking in the mirror and going deep into his thoughts, he notices how a worried girl stretches out her hand to him, asking if everything is fine with him, to which he replies that the wound just ached and he is fine. The young man thinks that in this life he now has a father, whereas in the past he grew up without parents, only with his sister. He ponders thoughtfully what a father would do if his son was killed, coming to the conclusion that he would definitely take revenge. He turns around with tension and turns to his sister, asking where their father has gone. She looks at him puzzled and says that his father has gone on business. Then, the young man presses and asks to tell the girl more specifically where he went, to which the girl exclaims that the guy needs to forget about it and think about his health, adding that the future of their family depends on him and it is impossible to allow something like this to happen to him again. The guy once again tries to find out where the father of the family went, assuming that he went to the city to find the Jiang family, to which the already perplexed girl says that he just left without saying anything before leaving. The young man realizes that the Jiang family is one of the most influential families in Luojiang province. Such great strength and a deep past of one of the influential family, the impoverished king family, is not even a match for them. He, frowning, looks seriously at the girl and says that he is not dead and before it is too late, it is necessary to catch up and return the father, who is going to avenge the death of his only son, to which the girl, realizing, silently opens her eyes wide. Evening is gradually falling on the city. The crowded streets of the city are painted orange in the evening. People crowd around the man walking forward, gossiping behind his back. People, perplexed, ask each other why the head of the King family has a gun in his hands, to which someone replies that the only young master of the King family was beaten to death in a duel with young Mr. Jiang, and it must be the head of the King family is going to avenge the death of his son. A man with a sinister aura, as if he does not notice all the conversations around, only walking forward, clutching a weapon in his hand and incinerating everything with a furious red look. Finally, the girl, who has been running all this time, trying to catch up with her father, calls out to him. The man, frowning, turns to his daughter and seriously asks what Zhu is doing on the street if he told her to stay at home, next to Wushuong. Zhu, shedding bitter tears of relief, trembling in her voice, tells her father that she has finally found him and that Wushuong is alive. The shocked man asks again if Wushuong is really alive, and, without waiting for an answer, breaks into a run, heading back to the house to his son to make sure that he is really alive. The man, not hearing anything, runs away, leaving behind his daughter with an abandoned weapon, who shouts to her father to wait for her. Xinghe, being in the body of a young man, looks at the reflection in the mirror and touches his face, realizing that his soul has really been reborn in the body of Wushuong. At this time, the father of the King family comes into the room. With a worried face, he stretches out his hand to his son, trying to touch him and make sure that it's true. Wushuong is really alive. Xinghe turns around at the man who came in, realizing that this is King Wushuong's father, King Lianshan. The young man, at the sight of his father, experiences feelings still unknown to him, assuming that this is his father's love, which he never managed to experience in his previous life. The man gently strokes his son's head and looks into his eyes, frowning and seriously asking if this second son of the Zhang family forced Wushuong to fight in a duel. He asks Wushuong to tell about everything so that the father will restore justice for the sake of his son. Xinghe frowns and thinks that he remembers all the ridicule of Wushuong, but he is not interested. Xinghe looks at the man and says that let all the grievances remain in the past. Now you need to look only forward. The guy understands perfectly well that Wushuong was afraid of the Zhang family like fire in the past, but it doesn't matter to him. Now that he, Wu Xinghe, has been reborn here, it disgusts him to think that he will have to deal with these spoiled children of noble families. The only thing that Xinghe now wants, having been reborn and given a second chance at life, is to see everything in Luojiang province, and even in the Beiyu kingdom. Lianshan looks at his son in surprise, repeating his words about looking ahead, thinking that such a loner and a daredevil like Wushuong had to suffer at the hands of Xianjiang, and it would not be surprising if he wanted to take revenge on the offender himself. But he is surprised and stupefied by the fact that his son is so calm and does not express a bit of hostility towards Xianjiang. Xinghe looks at his now other small hands and tells his father that looking ahead, it will still be difficult to forget all the hatred of the King family towards the Zhang family. He continues that, however, by hatred alone, they will not be able to help the family get out of poverty. Inspired, Lianshan grabs his son by the shoulders and says that he is absolutely right, and we need to move forward. So, from now on, Wushuong stops going to the academy and starting tomorrow, he himself will teach him ancient martial arts. Serious Lianshan says that the martial techniques inherited from their ancestors will help them reach heights in true martial arts. The head of the King family adds that their ancestors were powerful and rich, even though the King family is in decline now. This does not mean that they can let others destroy them so easily. Zhu also inserts her word, who just ran home and overheard the conversation between father and son, saying that it would be the right decision not to attend the academy anymore, where the ridicule will continue, and stay in Donglan City. However, Xinghe stops his family, asking them not to rush to a decision. Xinghe thinks that home, family and sister are things that he did not appreciate in his past life, until the moment of his death, but now he will do everything in order to keep it. The young man, clenching his fists and looking at his family, says that if it is a dragon, then he will be able to turn rivers and seas, and if a tiger, forests and mountains will quiet down, confidently adding that he will not allow anyone else to mock the King family, which greatly surprises his father and sister. Xinghe himself understands that such speeches, which Wushuong would never have uttered in his life, frighten the surprised Lianshan and Zhu a little. Therefore, Xinghe, pretending to yawn, says that he is a little tired and wants to go to rest, to which the father relaxes and sends Wushuong to rest, saying that they will discuss everything else tomorrow. Already at night, lying in his bed with his hands behind his head, Xinghe cannot sleep because of the events that have occurred. He discusses what kind of malice is gnawing at the Zhan family in relation to the King family, and why there is such devastation in his family. Xinghe thinks that, for sure, one of the reasons is the interests regarding the War of Nations, the assessment of families that are held every 4 years. If King Wushuong dies, then the King family will be cut off, which will lead the King family to lose its place in the evaluation of families, respectively, a place among the nobility. Without this place, everything that belonged to the king family would be distributed among the rest of the families. But, despite the losses in the economy, the worst thing is the loss of social status. After all, in this world there is a wide gap between the nobility and ordinary people. Xinghe realizes that duel between Wushuong and Xianjiang is definitely part of a conspiracy between more noble families. The young man promises himself that he will definitely protect his family. At this time, the news of Wushuong's miraculous resurrection quickly spread through the city, reaching the ears of the nobles and elders. A month later, Xinghe had fully recovered and started practicing ancient martial arts at the king family's training ground. He, with enthusiasm, thinks that he will finally be able to train. In his previous life, Xinghe was called a combat madman, and he got this nickname for a reason. Before, he could not spend a day without training. On an unusually sunny day in the city, he begins training and assessing the state of Wushuong's strength and body, praising that it is strong enough, and the basic skills are quite solid. Noticing that the only drawback is that Wushuong has never practiced powerful techniques. But Xinghe has practiced first-class techniques enough in his past life, so it won't be difficult to make up for it. He confidently clenches his fists, smiling and saying that he will make amends for all his regrets from this and past life. While he is training, a breathless Zhu'er comes running to the parade ground, anxiously calling Wushuong. She quickly approaches the young man and says that, at the request of his father, he needs to come to the pavilion, where Ding Jinbui from the Wudong Academy is waiting for him. The young man arches an eyebrow and thoughtfully brings his hand to his face, cupping his chin, asking why he came. The girl replies that after everything that happened at the academy, he came to offer his eradication condolences to the king family. Then Xinghe realizes that Jinbui, that old fox, definitely did not come to express his sincere condolences. He remembers that when King Wushuong was fighting Xianjiang, Jinbui was there. This scoundrel only watched everything from the side and admired what was happening, thereby taking the side of Xianjiang. He watched as Wushuong was treated badly, and then with a sneaky grin announced the death of the young man to his relatives, who came running in horror after hearing about the duel, offering their condolences. Emerging from deep memories and reflections, a dissatisfied Xinghe frowns, turning to Zhu'er, tells her that it's time to meet their guests. Walking towards the pavilion with a confident step, together with a puzzled sister, the young man tells himself that King Wushuong, from now on, will begin to restore the good name of the king family. Entering the pavilion where 3 black figures are standing, even despite the sunny day, Jinbui asks with feigned interest about Wushuong's well-being. The pavilion of the king family is consecrated by the sun rays and ennobled with wooden seats and tables for the arriving guests. When Xinghe and Zhu'er enter the pavilion, they are already sitting there. The lobbyist, Gu Shen, a gray-haired, stout middle-aged man with a dissatisfied face and a long goatee. A notable person, Zhu Sihai, a middle-aged man with long brown hair pulled into a hairstyle. Jinbui, Dean of Wudong Academy, with a long braid on his shoulder, shiny red eyes hidden behind round glasses. Noticing a young man and a girl who entered the pavilion of the king family, Jinbui, sneering meanly, asks Xinghe about his well-being and how his wounds have healed. An angry Xinghe looks at the dean and indignantly thinks that this old scoundrel dares to call himself a good person. The young man recalls that when he treated Wushuong badly right in front of Jinbui, he did not even move to do something and stop the duel, only grinned nastily when, desperate, the guy turned his gaze to the teacher, without even receiving sympathy in response. Xinghe glares at Jinbui, wondering with interest why he showed up at their house. The guy spreads his hands and answers the teacher, thanking him for his concern and concern that his wounds have fully recovered. Also noting that such a rapid recovery will discourage many who hoped for his sudden death from the duel. Starting to get a little angry from the calmness of the young man, Jinbui notices that Wushuong behaves quite differently. He suggests that the home environment allows Wushuong to feel much more confident to go against an adult. Then, the gloomy head of the king family bursts into the conversation between the student and the teacher, asking the purpose of the visit, such honorable gentlemen, because they could not come here just for the sake of talking about his son. Lobbyist Gu Shen enters the conversation, smiling nastily and folding his hands, looking and addressing the head of the king family, saying that the purpose of his arrival at the king house is to give one piece of advice. The lobbyist, grinning slyly, asks the head of the king family if he is aware that the assessment of families is carried out every 4 years and about the situation of his family, to which, frowning, Lion Shan asks what he is driving at. Still grinning nastily, Wushuong says that the head of the King family should understand perfectly well what will happen to his family if she loses her place in the family assessment and what will happen to her in the future without a status place. Wushuong throws up his hands and says that he knows how to get out of such a sensitive situation, but does not say right away, referring that the head of King will not want to hear it. Then, Xinghe responds to the lobbyist, drawing the attention of all observers to himself, that they would be happy to listen to Wushuong, and, if the idea is really good, even generously thanked him. Lobbyist Wushuong steps back a little and holds out his hand, pointing to a man sitting in a wooden chair holding a cup of tea. He, pointing to a stately, richly dressed man, introduces him as Mr. Zhu Zihai, the younger brother of the noble and wealthy Zhu family. Speaking for Zhu Zihai, Wushuong continues his speech that the junior lord of the Zhu family can give them one promise if the King family wants to give up their place among the nobility after 4 years at the family assessment, in which case, the Zhu family guarantees the safety of the King family. Angered by the words, the head of the King frowns, asking if he understands correctly that Wushuong is hinting at the King family's loss. Smiling, Wushuong replies that the head of King himself understands what a precarious situation his family is in right now. The lobbyist cites the example of the Niu family, which owns a herb shop in Donglan City, and the fact that such a powerful family with many useful connections, the King family with such competitors, will definitely not be able to keep their place. Then, the head of the King family, starting to lose his temper, says that everything is run by the sacred Zhenwu land, and the responsible persons are appointed by the emperor himself, so the presence of connections does not matter at all. Wushuong chuckles and says that Lian Shan really thinks that the great and powerful emperor has nothing to do to such an extent that he will bother with such a small province. Besides, the strongest survives in this world, so no one cares what methods you use to achieve your goals. Arriving in a rage, Lian Shan shouts at Wushuong that they came in order to interfere and block the King family, to which, without hiding their vile intentions, the lobbyist replies that in any case, they will leave their place in the assessment of families and among the nobility, and they will follow this closely. Adding, Wushuong notes if the King family can hold out for all 4 years at all and does not fall earlier under the oppression of other more noble families. The head of King's face turns black from the rage he feels, and he says that the King bloodline has experienced a decline over the years, but it has not fallen so low that other noble families do with it what they want. He challenges, saying that they can come and take whatever they want, but they will survive anyway. Suddenly, there is a loud clink of a cup on a saucer, attracting the attention of all watching. Junior Mr. Zhu, touching his beard and frowning, asks Lian Shan if he understands correctly that the head of the King family would prefer to die with honor, instead of living contemptuously. Angrily looking at Zhu Zihai, the head of the King loudly replies that his ancestors established a rule. Anyone who tries to harm the King family should be destroyed at any cost, without exceptions. The head of the King family jumps up from his seat in a rage, which scares the onlookers, and heading for the exit, orders Zhu to escort the guests out the door. In angry feelings, lobbyist Wushuong shouts to the head of the King that if he does not want to leave in a good way, he will be forced, and when the King family is thrown out into the street, he will be the first to throw a stone at them. Then, after listening to everything, Xinghe enters the conversation, grinning and saying that if Wushuong came here to demonstrate his diplomatic abilities and strength, but they look more like a dog barking at people. Enraged by the insolent boy who dared to call Wushuong a dog, he points his finger at the young man, saying that like father, like son, and that they will regret their decisions and words. The disgruntled junior Mr. Zhu, getting up from his chair, says that since the head of King insists on his own, then he has nothing more to say to him, about to leave the King house. Leaving, Jin Bui appeals to Wushuong that since his wounds have healed, he should return to study at the academy, adding that there is no one among the noble children who would not like to study at the Wudong Academy. Xinghe confidently replies to the dean that he will return to the academy and thanks him for reminding him about it, to which Jin Bui, grinning maliciously and flashing red eyes, says that he approves of the guy's infusion and instructs to be focused on studying so that it does not happen at the academy. Looking after the guests, Xinghe tells them to be careful after them. A lot can happen on a long road, but he will not accompany them. Left without extra ears and eyes, the worried head of King asks his son if he is really going to go back to the academy, to which Wushuong answers why he should not go back there. The head of King explains that Jin Bui is a famous hypocrite in Luojiang province, and his invitation to the academy alone does not bode well for him. To which Wushuong seriously replies that this trio is not as simple as it seems, and his appearance at the academy is already a matter of honor. He shares his reasoning that his last duel is definitely a conspiracy, but not against Wushuong himself, but against the King family. Then, the head of King asks his son, even though he is still going to return back to the academy. To which, clenching his fists, Wushuong replies that the survival of the King family depends only on him and on his father. If he doesn't accept the challenge and just runs away, hiding in the house, he won't be able to lead the King family to unprecedented heights. Proud of his son, the father puts his hand on his shoulder, asking him to promise him that upon returning to the academy, he will withstand all difficulties with his head held high, and will not give others a chance to lead him into a trap again. Enthusiastically looking at his father, the young man replies that he has nothing to worry about. After that incident, he understands perfectly well what he should do and what not to do. The head of the king instructs his son to go only forward and do whatever he sees fit. He will fully support him. Wushuong folds his hands in front of his face and thanks his father for his trust and support. After the decision was made to return to Wudong Academy, Wushuong was in no hurry to return to Liujiang province, and instead he decided to extend his training for another month. Wushuong, sitting on a huge stump in a picturesque sunny forest, is concentrating on training his inner strength. Wushuong thinks that in his past life martial arts required courage, so in this one he will choose King Kong Fist as his main attack technique. In this world, there is one rule of cultivation that is very different from those in his past world. Back then, there were no qualification boundaries for indoor and outdoor cultivation. In the same world, only the external force trains in order to reach those boundaries and heights that the body only allows. From outer to inner strength, one can create strength within and enter the stage of cultivating inner strength. In this world, the external stages are called the stage of the power of might. After passing through the external stages, then you enter the stages of true power. In comparison, Wushuong is now at the first level of martial arts, whereas his father is at the first level of true might. In his previous life, Xinghe had fully comprehended both cultivations, and was absolutely invulnerable. Reflecting on this, the young man thinks that, depending on these stages, in a previous life he would have been a master of true power of the 9th or higher level. Wushuong thinks, if only he could use all the experience from his past life in this one. Already a month later, after long training, Wushuong reaches the 7th level of strength and power. He reasons that if he continues like this, then within 3 months, he will be able to break through all levels of strength and reach the levels of true strength. He needs to regain 70 or 80% of his former strength before evaluating families. He breaks a thick tree trunk with one swing, knocking it on its side in order to test his strength. Wushuong, seeing the result, thinks that this is more than enough for the test. Ideally, he needs to reach the peak of the 9th level of true power, but he is still far from that. Wushuong enthusiastically thinks that as long as there is a family, there is hope. He returns from the picturesque forest back to the house of the King family, noticing that his sister is sitting in the yard worried about something. He approaches her, scaring her with his sudden appearance, asking her about the reason for her concern, to which Ziwer jumps up from her seat and hurriedly replies that she is fine, also interested in her brother's success and training. But Wushuong does not believe his sister's words, noticing that something is wrong on her face. Then, a frowning Wushuong stares at Ziwer and tells her that if she considers him a brother, then let him not hide anything and explain what is the matter. Discouraged, Ziwer looks at the young man in surprise, amazed at his impudence. But eventually, he gives up and sits down heavily on a stone chair in the garden of the King family's house. She puts her hand to her sad face and tells her brother what she was hiding. That bean came from the farmland's estate yesterday, and told her something about which they talked for an hour. And this morning the news passed through the province that his body was found at the entrance doors in the morning. Puzzled Wushuong, even his face changes, asking how this could have happened, to which, dropping bitter tears, the girl says that the demon who has been tormenting her for 6 years is to blame for everything. The discouraged young man looks at his sister in shock, asking what she means, to which she replies, when she was 12, this demon said that he liked her. Ziwer boasted that he would take her away in 10 years. This demon scared the head of the King family by not allowing Ziwer to marry another. Otherwise he would return to Donglan City in 10 years and destroy the entire King family. The girl, trembling, clasps her hands and says that her father did not specifically say anything about this demon curse to Wushuong, knowing that he would lose his temper because of his character. Wushuong clenches his hands into fists, unhappy with the fact that everything was deliberately hidden from him. The girl shakes her head, saying that for 6 years, all the guys who talked to her either died a strange death or went missing, stuttering, adding that she became a Death Star. frowning. The young man, saying that since 6 years from 10 have already passed, it means there are only 4 left. To which Zhu raises her eyes full of tears at him and says that she is not afraid of the demon. If Wushuong leads the king family forward, and does not disappoint her father and ancestors, then the girl is ready for any sacrifice. The young man confidently looks at his sister and says that she has nothing to worry about, because he will not even allow a demon to take his dear sister, and punishes her to live all these 4 years in peace. Zhu looks at her brother with relief and thanks him, dropping tears of relief on her light skirt. Wushuong promises himself that he will definitely protect his sister from adversity, as he could not protect her in his previous life. The large and majestic building of the Wudong Academy sparkles in the rays of the sun. Wushuong approaches the gates of the academy and, gathering his courage, full of confidence, passes by a huge and high gate, on which a wooden plaque is hanging, indicating that this is the Wudong Academy. The large courtyard is already full of onlookers who want to see Wushuong, who has returned from the other world. As soon as Wushuong appears in the field of view of the noble children, chatter begins how in general, after such a defeat, he dared to come back to the academy. In the crowd of noble children are Xianjiang and another child, a rich and noble Zhu family. They look angrily at the returned Wushuong, and Xianjiang, frowning, folds his arms over his chest, telling Zhu Ting how King Wushuong dared to return back to the academy at all, adding that it seems that the young man does not take them seriously. Passing by the crowd of children gathered in the courtyard of the academy, Wushuong looks at them with a smile, relaxed, striding forward with his hands in his pockets, wondering what kind of a bunch of brats are gathered here. The dean stands in Wushuong's way and greets the returned student, while radiating enemy energy towards the young man. Wushuong looks at the man with displeasure and thinks that he is really very impatient, assuming that Jin Bui probably has an incredible variety of ways to ruin his life at the academy. Jin Bui asks if the young man's head injury has completely healed, to which Wushuong rudely replies that the dean needs to speak more clearly, otherwise he does not understand him. The stunned Jin Bui from the rudeness and impudence of the boy stops and looks at him angrily. Even despite the rudeness said towards the adult, the dean says that the events that the young man did last time brought negative consequences. He expresses the hope that now Wushuong will be more restrained in the future. Wushuong looks at the old fox, once again amazed at his hypocrisy, and outraged that Jin Bui still allows himself to talk about himself as a kind-hearted person. The man smiles, seeing Wushuong's displeasure, asking if he thinks that the dean is wrong in his judgments. An angry Wushuong lowers his head and replies that the dean is absolutely right. He will have to endure all the ridicule when the noble children again deign to beat him to death. And if they deign to rob the king family's lands, then Wushuong would have to let this happen by giving them all the oil production and trade. The young man glares at the dean from under his forehead, asking if he understood everything correctly. The confused man looks attentively at the young man, not understanding when he became so arrogant, but he quickly comes to his senses, returning his grin. Jin Bui points his finger at the young man, saying that he understands perfectly well that the moment Wushuong decided to return to the academy, he just wanted to cause even more problems. But this won't work anymore, and Jin Bui warns Wushuong that if he interferes with them, he will already answer to the law. Then, Wushuong reminds that it was the dean himself who invited the young man back to the academy, and asks exactly how he wants to deal with him if Wushuong will climb where it is not necessary. To which, adjusting his round glasses, Jin Bui gloatingly replies that he will expel him and expel him away. Displeased, Wushuong, frowning, turns away from the dean, saying that he understood Jin Bui's intentions and will remember his words. When dusk falls on the city, Wushuong approaches the door to the room intended for his personal residence, as stated by a small wooden sign at the door. He opens the doors to the room, examining the surroundings, a room in bright colors, a simple single bed and a dark oak spacious wardrobe. Before he can cross the threshold of his room, Wushuong is hailed by a young man with a red scarf. From the surprise of the boy's appearance, Wushuong abruptly turns around. Seeing the boy, remembers that this is Hu Pinyin, Wushuong's friend and neighbor. He runs to Wushuong, simultaneously shouting asking why he returned back to the academy. Pinyin excitedly asks his friend why he returned to Wudong Academy. Does he not know that he has become the target of Xianjiang and the others? To which Wushuong calmly replies, feeling the bed, that he knows this perfectly well. Then, a worried Pinyin asks if a friend knows about the danger. Then why is he still here? Warning that Xianjiang will not just leave behind and will get Wushuong, so he needs to be constantly on guard. Wushuong sits down on the bed in a relaxed manner, asking that Pinyin rushed here headlong to say this and whether he is not afraid of becoming an object of ridicule because of what he is doing with Wushuong. To which the friend replies that they grew up together in Donglan City, and although he can't help him, he can't watch his friend being mocked. Tense Wushuong, frowning, is silent on the words of a friend and thinks that this time his enemies will create a lot of problems for him and it is better not to involve others in it, so that no one gets hurt. He looks attentively at Pinyin and after a short silence, tells him not to come to his room unless it's something important. Wushuong confidently says that he can handle all the problems alone. After putting his friend out the door, Wushuong slams it loudly in Pinying's face, to which he only awkwardly scratches his head, not understanding what has come over him. It was the dead of night in the city, illuminating everything with moonlight. Under the moon, on the roof of one of the houses for students, Wushuong is sitting in the lotus position, training his strength. Suddenly, he is distracted by a rustle, and he is distracted from training, opening his eyes with interest. Wushuong sees two black silhouettes of young men trying to get into his room, and hears their conversation that they are discussing among themselves where to hide something in Wushuong's room. Along the way mentioning young Mr. Zhu, who promised to get Duqiu to one of the guys for a favor, while the guys hide the thing in the closet in Wushuong's room, telling each other to hurry before he comes. Wushuong himself descends from the roof, hiding behind the wall at the door to his room. When he hears the familiar name Zhu, he remembers that Zhu Ting is the youngest son of the head of the wealthy Zhu family, also known for his ridicule of the students of the Wudong Academy. After a while, the guys carefully leave Wu Shun's room, heading away, while Wushuong himself is watching them closely from behind the pillar. Wushuong reflects that the last time he saw Zhu Zihai at the king house, who was then accompanied by Jin Bui, realizing that the old fox was involved here too. He walks into his room after strange guys, immediately heading to the closet. Wushuong opens the cabinet doors, seeing the contents left by strangers, smiles maliciously. Examining the contents in the closet, Wushuong thinks that since Zhu Ting likes to play dirty, then so be it. Wushuong accepts the conditions. The silence of the dead of night is broken by a girl's scream, voicing that a thief has been started in the girls' living rooms. In the women's dormitory of the Wudong Academy, girlish exclamations are heard from all sides about the theft of girls' underwear. Everyone from the men's dorm comes running and starts waking up the others, shouting that the thief is wandering somewhere among the women's bedrooms and needs to be caught. They gather in a bunch, starting to discuss who could stoop to such a humiliating occupation. Among the crowd, there are smiling Zhu Ting and Zian Zhang, watching from the sidelines. Then, Zhu Ting enters into a heated discussion, asking one of the guys, Lai Fei, whether he saw the thief. He responds positively, saying that he was going to the toilet when he noticed someone's silhouette jumping on the walls. Grinning slyly, Zhu Ting asks if Lai Fei saw what the silhouette looked like. The one who mirrored Zhu Ting's grin replies that he did not see it because it was too dark. He only noticed movement on the walls of the bedrooms. Zhu Ting points to the side with his hand, explains that there is a men's dormitory in that direction. In other words, the thief is somewhere there. Other guys only gasp in surprise that there is a thief of girls' underwear among them. A grinning Zian Zhang enters into a heated discussion, saying that if the thief is still inside, it will be easier to find him. You need to gather all the guys from the neighborhood and search all the rooms in the men's dormitory. His idea is happily supported by Zhu Ting, praising Zian Zhang for an amazing idea. Then, Zian Zhang suggests starting with rooms that are locked and without residents, since they are more suspicious. Zhu Ting also supports him. Zhu Ting shouts through the fence separating the women's dormitory from the men's that they are going to investigate and report any suspicious movement. But suddenly a girl with long purple hair appears from behind the wall, who falls on the tiles of the wall. The angry girl tells the assembled guys that there is no need to wait any longer. She wants to personally go there and check everything. This girl is Yun Qingyan, the daughter of one of the three great families. She gracefully descends from the wall in one leap, while Zhu Ting asks her if any of her belongings were stolen from Ms. Yun, to which the girl menacingly orders Zhu Ting not to approach her and to start an investigation immediately. The girl goes ahead of everyone else, thinking that the one who stole her underwear will not live. They begin to go around all the rooms of the men's dormitory, approaching the nearest one. Yun Qingyan stops at the door to the room and opens the door with his foot, scaring everyone who was watching, and the guy who was inside the room. He is half asleep, frightened by such a sudden appearance of guests, jumps out of bed while Yun Qingyan and Zian Zhang inspect the room, warning the guy to stay where he is if he is innocent. Yun Qingyin turns away and says it's not a thief. So they go around all the rooms, breaking in without knocking on their feet, and not finding the thief. On the next room, trying to open the door with her feet, the girl feels resistance, since the door is locked from the inside. She throws a furious glance at the closed door of the room, asking who lives in it, to which, smiling maliciously, Xianjiang answers her that a child from an eastern city lives there. The girl angrily says how he dared to lock the doors. Then, Xianjiang shouts loudly that a native of the King family should immediately open the door in front of Ms. Yun if he has nothing to hide. Enraged, Yun Qingyin, thinking that they will not be opened, swings his foot to knock down the door, pretending to apologize for the rudeness. Suddenly, the door opens abruptly, and the girl's leg flies right in front of the calm Wushuong, who managed to dodge it. A sleepy Wushuong rubs his eyes with tears from a yawn and asks what such a crowd needs from him in the middle of the night. Frowning and clenching his fists, Yun Qingyin asks the sleepy guy if he didn't hear long and loud knocks on the door, to which Wushuong, yawning once again, replies that he was fast asleep and why are they even breaking into him at such a late hour. Muttering discontentedly, Wushuong complains that if they hadn't come and started breaking into his room in the middle of the night, he would have married a beauty in a dream. An agitated Xianjiang starts shouting at Wushuong to stop pretending to be an idiot, saying that a robbery took place in the women's bedrooms and someone from the men's dormitory is to blame. So if Wushuong has nothing to hide, he should join their investigation and let his room be searched. Confused, Wushuong calmly stands next to the door of his room, crossing his arms over his chest, asking the crowd why on earth he should let someone into his room to rummage through his things. Screaming loudly, Xianjiang pokes his finger at Wushuong and shouts for him to immediately give them passage. And if he refuses, then he has something to hide. Outraged by such an accusation, Wushuong says why shouldn't Ms. Yun first check the rooms of Xianjiang and Zhu Ting? Perhaps it is they who are hiding something. Adding, Wushuong notes that it is possible to check his room. But where is the guarantee that none of them targeted him to discredit Wushuong's honest name? So, Wushuong demands to start checking all the rooms, and then he will provide his room for inspection. Yun Qingyin looks at the young man, saying that he talks too much and that they have already checked a lot of rooms before him. So which rooms does he want to see? Wushuong confidently replies that this does not make sense, since their owners can simply refuse to inspect their room. A frowning Zhu Ting asks Wushuong who he is trying to drag into all this, to which, grinning, Wushuong replies, why don't Zhu Ting set an example and let him look around his room? Zhu Ting, putting his hand on his heart, says if Ms. Yun demands to check his room, he will not object. Other boys follow his example, shouting that Yun Qingyin can check their rooms without obstacles. Frowning with displeasure, Yun Qingyin looks at Wushuong saying that he heard everything, so he'd better get out of the way and let his room be examined. Annoyed, Wushuong replies that she can inspect his room, but let her know that he does not allow it out of respect for her. Smiling, Wushuong adds that he is just curious to know the end of this whole story. While the girl goes inside the room, Zhu Ting is grinning nastily in the crowd, foreshadowing a huge scandal. Yun Qingyin walks into Wushuong's room while everyone is watching her actions outside. She approaches the large closet of the room, about to open it, to which Wushuong tries to stop her and shouts at her not to open the closet. The whole crowd, seeing Wushuong's reaction, starts shouting for Yun Qingyin to open the closet. He's definitely hiding something there. Yun Qingyin glares at Wushuong and pulls on the closet doors, when suddenly, a pile of dirty socks falls on her, falling on the girl's head. Everyone is shocked to see this picture, especially Zhu Ting, who knew for sure that the stolen things of the girls were to be found in Wushuong's closet. Enraged, Yun Qingyin, holding a bunch of stinking foreign socks in her hand, shouts at Wushuong, thinking that he did it intentionally and who is putting piles of dirty socks in the closet at all. Chuckling softly and blushing, Wushuong says that he warned not to open the closet, and since his room was checked, it is impossible to neglect the other rooms of the men's dormitory. Outraged Yun Qingyin, who literally has steam coming out of her ears from the situation, quickly walks out of Wushuong's room, telling him to follow them, to which, with his hands in his pockets, smiling Wushuong obediently follows her. They stop at the door of a room with a wooden sign number 1. Yun Qingyin stands awkwardly and looks at the door, not daring to go in, because this room belongs to the power of the country of Luojiang, Dai Xiangyu. Having never found the courage to disturb such an important person, the crowd along with Yun Qingyin just pass by, stopping briefly at the door. Wushuong smiles and folding his arms on his chest, asks why Ms. Yun missed and did not check this room. Is it possible that Yun Qingyin only checks those who are weaker than her, without getting a response from the confused girl? Wushuong then turns to Zhu and Jiang with the same question, to which Zion Jiang whispers that Wushuong is simply unworthy of such an honor. Laughing loudly at the faces, Wushuong walks past the room, loudly saying that a bunch of kids were just scared of such an important person in the country. Although, in fact, young Mr. Dai Xiang does not even live in the academy. Wushuong approaches someone's room, asking whose it is and noticing that he feels some kind of fragrance, so he assumes that this is the room of one of the girls, to which Zhu Ting gives a voice, saying that this bedroom is his, displeased by adding that he is innocent, so Wushuong insults him with his baseless. Zhu Ting threatens Wushuong that if he does not stop, he will sue him for slandering the nobility. Wushuong, smiling maliciously, says whether Zhu Ting is guilty or not, they should check his bedroom anyway. Putting pressure on Zhu Ting, Wushuong asks him if he is against. If so, then they have the first suspect. Already addressing Yun Qingyan, Wushuong says that if Ms. Yun does not personally check Zhu Ting's room herself, then he is no longer an assistant here. Having calmed down, Zhu Ting, putting his hand on his heart, turns to Yun Qingyan, saying that if she wants it, he will provide the bedroom at the disposal of Mrs. Yun. The girl opens the doors of Zhu Ting's bedroom, saying that she has no reason not to check on her. Yun Qingyan carefully examines Zhu Ting's room, going to the closet and abruptly opening the doors. From the closet, a pile of stolen underwear falls on the girl, settling on the floor. Everyone watching is in shock, looking at what happened, not finding words, just opening their mouths. Yun Qingyan looks furiously at the stolen items, noticing his underwear in the same pile. While everyone is shocked to digest what is happening, Wushuong laughs and calls Zhu Ting an animal, wishing to himself to enjoy his torment of Zhu Ting. Yun Qingyan, in a rage, breathing fire, approaches Zhu Ting, shouting his name, intending to hit him for stealing underwear, to which he, not understanding how this could happen, tries to justify himself, but does not have time, screaming in pain. The news that Zhu Ting was stealing the underwear of the girls from the Wudong Academy quickly spread throughout the country. Even the leadership of the academy was shocked by such news. They had to calm the girls down, as well as restore the honest name of the Wudong Academy, and Zhu Ting himself. Everywhere Zhu Ting went, he was called a scoundrel and a pervert, recoiling from him as from fire. The dean assured Zhu Ting that this was a terrible conspiracy against the Zhu family, to which Zhu Ting replied that for now they needed to be quiet and not attract too much attention. After a while, Jin Bui gathered all the students to announce that after their investigation of the incident, they found out that Zhu Ting was practicing martial arts with other students at the same time as the incident occurred, which means Zhu Ting has a strong alibi. Jin Bui also added that Zhu Ting would never have dared to commit such a heinous crime and someone else was to blame for the theft. Jin Bui's speech was supported by other students, confirming that Zhu Ting was indeed with them at that moment. Standing in a rage and listening to the crowd's exclamations of his innocence, Zhu Ting thinks that King Wushuong will get what he deserves sooner or later. Also, watching this passing from the side, Wushuong sadly reflects that it is very convenient to have a high status. You can always get away with it. Wushuong reflects that in this world, if you are not strong enough or you do not have the support of influential families, then you have to live like a lousy dog. A world in which a strict hierarchy is built with the clearest boundaries. Whether it's a thing or a person, everything here is part of the hierarchy. Moreover, strength is highly valued and rewarded here, and almost all people are proficient in martial arts. All authority is built around how strong a person is. The power is also divided into clear boundaries at different levels. Different levels assume different privileges. The only way to enjoy everything at once is to reach the top, with your own strength. Wushuong notes that the King family at this stage are on the very edge of the abyss of the hierarchical ladder. And only thanks to the fact that the Wudong Academy opens its doors to all students, Wushuong was able to study here in peace. By training hard in martial arts in his room, Wushuong finally reaches the 9th level of Strength of Might. Realizing this fact, Wushuong opens his eyes in surprise and rejoices that he managed to reach the 9th level, feeling much stronger. He understands that now he will be able to use his special techniques from his past life. Wushuong reviews all the books with techniques that have been preserved in his head, choosing the right technique. He remembers the easiest technique of all, the secret yin technique, but decides that it is better to practice something more aggressive. He goes on to list all the memorized books of techniques: mind cleansing technique for cleansing the mind and body, Taoist classics True Kung Fu of the Zero Phase, the Book of Ancient Kung Fu of the North for absorbing the inner energy of other people. He notices among the pile of different books, the book The Technique of True Baking, remembering that in his past life he practiced it a lot. Wushuong decides to focus on the true hell technique, which is what he is most familiar with. Starting studying the technique, flames gather around the young man and his whole body is covered with unimaginable flame power. Sitting on the bed with the collected flame in his fist, Wushuong reasons that if he manages to reach the second level of the true hell technique, he will be able to deal with any martial artist of the second level of true power. The training is interrupted by a sudden knock on Wushuong's bedroom door and shouts of his name from outside, such that the young man loses all concentration and the flame disappears from his fist. Wushuong opens the door and sees an excited boy with a bandage on his head, who, without wasting time, immediately tells that trouble has happened, and Xianjiang and the others grab Pinyin, to which Wushuong looks at the guy in confusion. He remembers that this young man is Fan Xiaozhong, Hu Pingyin's cousin. Enraged Wushuong angrily looks ahead, realizing that Xianjiang dared to involve completely innocent people in their showdown. Wushuong recalls the moment of their last duel with Xianjiang, when he was beaten to death and miraculously recovered, deciding that today he would settle all accounts with the scoundrel Xianjiang. Wushuong quickly leaves the room, asking where the hyena gang took Pinyin, to which Xiaozhong stammers that his cousin was taken to the hill in the bamboo forests. In the bamboo forest located on the hill, a crowd of young men from the Wutong Academy, led by Xianjiang and Zhu Ting, gathered. They look at Pinyin hanging upside down from a bamboo tree and discuss whether Wushuong will come to the aid of his friend. Someone in the crowd says that Wushuong doesn't have the courage because he was beaten very cruelly last time. Xianjiang grabs Pinyin by the hair, viciously telling him not to take offense at them, but to blame his dear friend Wushuong for everything, because he only cares about himself. Pinyin, all bruised, in anger, calls everyone watching bastards. That Xianjiang swings his fist in Pinyin's face, intending to hit and find out how strong the young man is. But suddenly a menacing voice is heard ordering Xianjiang to stop. The crowd of boys makes way for Wushuong and Xiaozhong, who are quickly heading forward to the suspended Pinyin and his tormentors. The whole crowd starts guffawing and wailing that Wushuong didn't have enough last time and he came for more. Xianjiang and Zhu Ting, seeing Wushuong approaching them, are delighted that he really came. Seeing a suspended friend, Wushuong demands to let him go since he came here, to which Zhu Ting replies that they do not need Pinyin anymore and they will not harm him. Zhu Ting cuts the rope on which Pinyin's legs were suspended with one swing. His cousin immediately runs up to help him, asking if everything is alright with him. Serious, Wushuong tells two friends to leave, because they only need him. But Pinyin resists and shouts, clenching his fists, that he will not go anywhere and will prove to these runts what they are worth. Then, Xianjiang gives a voice to Wushuong, reminding him that he had already beaten him to death last time and challenging him to a new duel. A frowning Wushuong asks if Xianjiang is sure to settle old scores with him. But he is no longer heard. The excited crowd demands a fight and teach Wushuong a lesson, asking him to defeat him for sure this time. Grinning maliciously, Xianjiang thinks that he has been waiting for this moment for months to avenge Zhu Ting and now he has a chance to do it, as well as try out new techniques on the wheezy Wushuong. Xianjiang turns to Zhu Ting, asking him to become a judge in his duel with Wushuong, to which Zhu Ting replies that since they will fight based on their old grievances, so this time he will be their judge. Folding his arms across his chest, Wushuong tells Zhu Ting that it's quite funny to be a judge for his own servant, to which Zhu Ting angrily snorts at him, thinking that this time Wushuong will definitely not live. There was a commotion at the academy because of the fight. All the students go and discuss that King Wushuong and Xianjiang had a duel in the bamboo forest. The guy with white hair and white robes also hears this. The rivals stand opposite each other while Zhu Ting stands between them, who waves his hand, indicating the beginning of the fight. The whole crowd cheers and asks to defeat Wushuong. Only two people from the whole crowd, watching the fight, really care about Wushuong. Xianjiang, squeezing his hand, confidently shouts that this time Wushuong will not get off so easily and he will kill him, to which Wushuong also confidently replies with a smile that he can try to kill him. Xianjiang jumps at the opponent with lightning speed, putting out his fist to strike. Seeing that he does not move, laughs that Wushuong cannot even move out of fear. Suddenly, Wushuong dodges Xianjiang's attack, which throws him into shock. Xianjiang tries to hit his opponent 5 more times, but he very quickly evades the attacks, surprising Xianjiang with his speed. Then, Xianjiang retreats and shouts that Wushuong only evades and knows how, calling him a coward. The crowd of students watching the fight begins to echo Xianjiang, discontentedly calling and condemning Wushuong's deviations. Smiling, Wushuong says what can he do if his opponent is so slow, Angry, Xianjiang shows off his strength and says he will see how much Wushuong has enough before he runs away. The crowd looks admiringly at Xianjiang's aura, marveling at his strength and the third level of martial arts strength. Concentrating the power of the crushing wind technique, he hits Wushuong directly in the solar plexus of his chest, causing an explosion and a blinding bright light to appear. Laughing, Xianjiang says that Wushuong is not so fast, and for his blow he gets an enthusiastic audience, of which 2 people stand and look at the place where Wushuong stood, which now has only a column of smoke. Zhu Ting grins maliciously, realizing that this is the end of it. But the smoke slowly dissipates, and Xianjiang looks in shock at the silhouette of Wushuong, with burning red eyes, with whom everything is fine. Everyone watching the fight looks in shock at the unharmed Wushuong, who did not even move from such a powerful blow from Xianjiang. Wushuong, flashing blue eyes and concentrating his strength, thinks that he is already at the first level of true power, and did Xianjiang really think that he could win, being only at the third level of martial arts strength? Wushuong finished concentrating the power in his fist, shouting that the only one who will die here is Xianjiang. Wushuong hits his opponent in the face with all his strength, causing him to fly off into a large stone, destroying it with his body, and settling on the stone fragments. The discouraged crowd silently stares at Xianjiang, defeated by one blow, with wide eyes. A joyful Pinyin and Xiao Zhang run up to Wushuong, who look at him admiringly, asking what kind of technique he used, and Wushuong promises the guys that he will definitely teach them this technique. Standing at a distance, Zhu Ting looks at Wushuong with horror, not understanding how he could grow up so quickly in just a couple of months. Delighted with the victory over Xianjiang, Wushuong turns to Zhu Ting, with a smile, thanking him for being the judge in their fight. Enraged, Zhu Ting orders the crowd to report everything to Ding and the government that King Wushuong killed a member of the Zhang clan in a one-on-one battle. The king house is full of gifts and people. The head of the king angrily shouts for everyone to get out of the house of the king family, throwing gifts on the street to the fleeing ones along the way. Zhu comes out of the room and sees an angry father, asking what is going on and who came. The angry head of king replies that the Niu family, who owned a herb shop, came with gifts, with a marriage proposal based on their relationship with the Zhu family. But Zhu has nothing to worry about. She will never be given as a daughter-in-law to such scum. Zhu, pressing her hand to her chest, confidently replies that as long as her father and Wushuong are with her, she is not afraid of anything. After mentioning Wushuong, the head of king asks how his son is doing at the academy, and things are not going very smoothly at the academy. Being in his room after the fight with Xianjiang, Wushuong calmly sits on the bed with his eyes closed while an argument breaks out between Pinyin and Xiao Zhang. Xiao Zhang claims that after killing a member of the noble Zhang family, you need to run back to the eastern city, while Pinyin defiantly says that this is not necessary, since the battle was fair. If they escape, they may be accused of being the first to start the fight. Then, a gloomy Wushuong gives a voice, saying that everything is fine, we just need to watch the further development of events, also asking that Pinyin and Xiao Zhang stay away from him if they do not want to get hit. When asked to stay away from him, Pinyin and Xiao Zhang put their hand on their hearts, saying that they would never abandon their hero, who saved them from trouble, and a friend, promising that they would cope with everything together. Smiling, Wushuong says, since this is the case, then stay. Jin Bui should be here any minute now. At the same moment, a loud voice of Jin Bui is heard, saying that it is better for King Wushuong not to commit stupid and rash acts, tripling the one-on-one fight and killing the opponent, so all the evidence is against Wushuong. A relaxed Wushuong comes out of his room, watching a whole crowd, led by Jin Bui and Zhu Ting. Smiling, Wushuong says that the fight was fair, with many witnesses who saw everything for themselves, and Mr. Zhu himself acted as the judge of their fight. Zhu Ting, standing next to Jin Bui, denies and says that everything was clearly wrong. This is all Wushuong's revenge based on hatred for Xianjiang. And if the dean doesn't believe Zhu Ting, he can ask anyone from the crowd what really happened. A confident Zhu Ting looks at the crowd, thinking that no one would dare to go against the Zhu family. That's what happens. Everyone who watched the fight just waved it off, claiming that they didn't see anything. Jin Bui, feeling the victory, throws up his hands and says that no one can justify King Wushuong. Then, Pinyin and Xiao Zhang come out to prove Wushuong's innocence, saying they can confirm that Xianjiang and Wushuong's battle was fair. But Jin Bui rejects their words, arguing that they are from the same city and can cover for each other and their words mean nothing. Suddenly, the head of the Mao Zhang family and the eldest son of the Yao Zhang family burst into the courtyard, shouting where the murderer of their family member is and demanding to go out with him to fight in order to avenge the death of his younger brother. Radiating a destructive aura, the head of Zhang, whose face has turned black from rage, approaches Jin Bui, asking the dean why he still hasn't arrested his son's killer. Zhu Ting exclaims that all the evidence is on the face and Wushuong can be safely arrested. Grinning maliciously and flashing red eyes, Jin Bui, addressing Wushuong, says that no one will be able to prove his innocence, telling other students to capture the murderer. Laughing, Wushuong says that in this brainless crowd there was not a single student who dared to tell the truth, ever. Displeased with Wushuong's speeches, Jin Bui orders him to close his mouth and stop talking nonsense. Suddenly, a white-haired young man comes out of the gate, asking to wait for Wushuong's arrest. Everyone immediately recognizes with horror in the blonde young man, Daxi Yan. He does not waste time in vain. Discontentedly turns to Zhu Ting, saying that this is how he performs his duties as a judge. Jin Bui immediately bows to a member of the Daxi family, asking what he wants to say, to which the gloomy Daxi Yang replies that he is a little worried that other countries have a great reason to laugh at their country, because there is not a single decent person in it. Daxi Yang confidently says that he will be a witness to Wushuong, saying that in fact, the fight between Wushuong and Xian Zhang was honest and Zhu Ting was there as a judge. Daxi Yan's words are just the evidence they need, and if someone wants to challenge them, then let them come forward and discuss it with him. In a panic, Jin Bui asks if Mr. Daxi really saw everything with his own eyes, but he is interrupted by the head of the Zhang family, saying that Wushuong is responsible for his son's death, so let justice overtake him. Daxi Yan turns to the men, menacingly asking when someone from the Dax family didn't keep his word. Seizing on the hope that appeared, Pinyin says that young Mr. Dax himself confirmed that the battle was fair. Xiao Zhang echoes him, asking what will happen to those who forged evidence and framed Wushuong. An exasperated Jin Bui points his finger at the young men, saying that this case will be thoroughly investigated. However, King Wushuong often caused problems to other students, and even if it was a fair battle, Wushuong is still guilty of violating the harmony of Wudong Academy. Jin Bui was about to start his next shouting speech when he was interrupted by an angry Wushuong, who asked the dean if he just wanted to throw him out of the academy, to which Jin Bui replied that he had enough strength for that. Pretending to smile, Wushuong says that he no longer intends to stay at this academy. He only stayed here for a few months in order to wait for the right moment. The moment when the unfortunate idiot Xian Zhang comes to him for his death. The discouraged Jin Bui, unable to find words to answer, only viciously opens his mouth. But Wushuong already passes him on the way out of the academy, saying that he is not going to stay in this academy for a minute longer. He is followed by Pinyin and Xiao Zhang, agreeing and also leaving Wudong Academy. Then the enraged Jin Bui shouts to the boys that he will look forward to watching them take his martial arts exam for 3.5 years, to which, grinning, Wushuong replies that there must be a limit to Jin Bui's greed, because the sacred land of Zhenwu is clearly going to send its people to take the exam. After all, the esteemed dean of the Wudong Academy is just a servant of the aristocrats, unless Jin Bui can somehow influence the course and outcome of the exam, which gives him such a right. Jin Bui grits his teeth in rage, not knowing what to say to the arrogant boy. Then, the head of the Zhang family is furious, concerts the force around him and shouts to Wushuong that he killed his son and thinks he can just leave here, without answering for his death with his head, to which Wushuong replies that it was a fair fight. God himself decided who should live and who should die. Was Elder Zhang going to publicly kill Wushuong? Concentrating the power around himself, Wushuong reflects that Mao Zhang definitely has a true power of the second rank, which he is not able to defeat yet. But in any case, the head of the Zhang family will not be able to openly violate the laws of the country. While the discouraged adults stand and talk among themselves, Zhu Ting shouts after the departing Wushuong that he will see how much he can stand with his pride until she takes him to the grave. Without turning to the nobility, Wushuong says that everything that happened today was only due to negligence towards the King family. Wushuong, flashing blue eyes, says that the mountains will never meet, unlike them, and he will definitely return to Wudong Academy in 3 years. After saying the last words, Wushuong has finally disappeared behind the gates of Wudong Academy, heading back to his eastern city, in the company of loyal friends. The head of Zhang, flashing red eyes, promises that King Wushuong will definitely pay for the death of his son Xian Zhang. Jin Bui tries to calm him down, saying that now the King family is under the protection of the Daxi family and Elder Zhang needs to be more careful. Also, Jin Bui reminds that the assessment of families will take place in 3 years, then the King family will definitely be wiped off the face of the earth. The next sunny day, Daxi Yong returned to the huge estate of the Daxi family. The head of the Daxi Heng family listened attentively to his son's story about an unusual young man from the King family, noticing that King Wushuong is not so simple. Elder Daxi is interested in pronouncing the name of King Wushuong and learning that he is from the poor class. The head of the Daxi family notices that Wushuong waited long and carefully for the moment to strike back. Apparently, if the rest of the noble families try to rob King Wushuong's family, they will only find themselves in trouble. Perplexed, Daxi Yong asks her father why the families who tried to rob the King family are in trouble. Because that incident with Xian Zhang's death happened only because of disputes between martial arts students. He shares that he thinks it won't really change the situation as a whole. To which Daxi Heng, laughing and looking at him, replies to his son that if he had not appeared there as a witness, then of course everything would have been much easier. However, his appearance happened, so things changed dramatically. The head of the Daxi family explains that right now, the Zhu family is somewhat wary, due to the possibility that the King family may have some close ties with the Daxi family. To which Daxi Yong asks if they should prove to the Zhu family that they are not involved in the King family, and will distance themselves from them. Smiling, Daxi Heng says that there is no need. Besides, there is no need to expect their family to be nice to aristocrats like the Zhang family. Also, adding that this King Wushuong is quite a brave and resourceful youth, so Wushuong must have a good relationship with his King family. After a short silence, Daxi Yong hesitantly and awkwardly asks about the news about her brother. The head of the Dax family looks thoughtfully into the clear sunny sky and replies that Daxi's brother Jan, at the moment, will not be able to help him, but the head of Daxi asks his son not to worry about his brother, because he is already big, so he will soon come to his senses. Having found a horse cart somewhere, the company led by Wushuong gets into it and, swinging on bumps, starts on the way to the eastern city. Bouncing on particularly sharp bumps, Xiao Zhang asks the relaxed Wushuong if they will be able to get home safely. He is echoed by Pingyan, saying worriedly that if they want to ambush them. Without opening his eyes and without changing his relaxed position, Wushuong tells them not to worry and everything will be fine. Then, the surprised Pinion asks why he is so sure, to which Wushuong opens his sparkling eyes and smiling, enthusiastically says just 3 words, the much respected Daxi family. The news that King Wushuong had defeated a member of the famous Zhang noble family and dropped out of Wudong Academy quickly spread throughout Donglan. Hearing the sounds of the approaching carriage and the sound of hooves on the ground, the head of King and Zhu go out to meet their family member, who this time was able to take revenge on the offenders and win glory to the King family. But uninvited guests stand in the way of the head of King and Zhu, who believe that the King family has found out that they are here and came out to greet them. In the courtyard of the King family, 2 members of the Niu family are standing brazenly and uninvited. The seller from the shop of medical herbs, Niu Dai, tells his son to go and talk to Mrs. Zhu, to which his son Niu Fen, folding his arms on his chest, confidently exclaims that he will do so. Niu Fen comes closer to the King family, trying to approach the gloomy Zhu, but he is blocked by the angry head of the King family, rudely asking what outsiders have questions for them. To which Niu Fen stupidly giggles, grinning nastily, putting 2 rabbit teeth on display. Niu Dai confidently says that there is nothing to worry about. Just a father and son came to the King family in order to make a marriage proposal, and also discuss with the head of King the possibility of cooperation. With unpleasant surprise, the head of King asks Niu Dai what kind of cooperation is in question. But King Wushuong, who abruptly appears, who asks the same question addressed to Niu Dai, does not let him finish. The members of the King family turn around in surprise, seeing the young man stomping towards them in a relaxed manner, immediately joyfully calling him by name and greeting him. Immediately, Niu Dai gives a voice, smiling again, looking like an evil rabbit, telling that he heard how young Mr. King defeated a member of one of the famous and noble family, also bringing congratulations to Wushuong on his victory. And the scoundrel Niu Dai thinks to himself that Wushuong won with someone's help. Annoyed, Wushuong replies that Niu Dai was late with congratulations and a visit, since Mr. Zhu has already renounced his past words about the destruction of the King family, and about protection after its fall in the evaluation of families. Still smiling hideously with rabbit teeth, Niu Dai responds to Wushuong's speech that Niu himself is quite close to Mr. Zhu. As soon as Elder King obediently renounces his place in the nobility and family assessment, and accepts the marriage proposal, the Niu family will take care of the safety of the King family. Then, tired of listening to Niu Dai's speeches, Wushuong rudely tells him to go back to where he came from, and they will wait for Mr. Zhu to use something against the King family. Amazed at such impudence of the youngster, Niu Dai hysterically turns to the head of the king, asking him why some green impudent youngster is now running the affairs of the family. Enraged by the situation, Lion Shan replies that the words spoken by Wushuong are his words, and drives away the uninvited guests. Suddenly, Niu Feng intervenes in the conversation, shouting illiterate and incoherently, shaking his fist that if Wushuong does not allow him to marry Zhu now, then it will be too late, and he will not accept the marriage proposal. Annoyed, Wushuong turns to the village fool, flashing blue eyes, says through his teeth that little Niu can marry the cows of the King family if he so pleases. The door of the King family's house slams shut loudly, leaving Niu Dai and Niu Fei with nothing on the street. Those viciously grinding their teeth, they say that the King family does not distinguish between good and bad, and will simply rot without the help of such a great family as Niu. The King family gathered in full in the courtyard with a stone table and chairs. Wushuong enthusiastically talks about his victories at the Wudong Academy, to which the father exclaims enthusiastically, praising his son for a job well done. A smiling Zhu sits next to him, who shows with all her appearance how proud she is of her brother. Surprised by such a reaction, Wushuong says that he expected a different reaction from his father, that his father would be ashamed of him. But the head of the King family, smiling happily, says that victory over a member of a famous and noble family is already worthy of respect. And how can a father be ashamed of such exploits of his son? Full of confidence and support from his family, Wushuong says Xianzhang's death is just the beginning. It will only get tougher from now on. The father, hardly pronouncing the words, says that the rich will not just leave this incident, but is interrupted by coughing up blood, which greatly scares his children. The frightened Wushuong sees that his father has overtrained and his meridians are tangled, turning into a red ball of tangled threads. Wushuong thinks that his father's abilities are not so good, so if he hurries with training, he will die because of his inner energy, like Wushuong himself in his previous life. Clearing his throat, the head of the king tries to convince the children that everything is fine and he just choked on a bug that flew into his mouth. But they don't believe, and Zhu says that he coughed up blood and urgently needs to see a doctor. Wushuong interrupts her and says that he knows how to help his father. Everyone looks at him in surprise. Wushuong uses silver needles on his father to remove chaotic energy from his body since he has overtrained. The head of the king asks his son where he learned such techniques, to which he replies that he did not learn much at the academy, but he found a lot of useful books in the library. Wushuong takes the book out of the bag, explaining that he took it from the academy library and did not quite understand, asking his father to take a look at it. He picks up the book Tendon Changes, starting to leaf through it and asking with shock if it's true from the academy, to which he replies that the dean wouldn't understand it anyway, so he took it away, thinking it was useful. Wushuong worries that his father will not believe in his legend, but he readily believes, saying that the academy has existed for a couple of centuries and it is not surprising to find such books there. The son asks his father what is written there and he explains that this is a serious collection of techniques that their family lacked. The head of the king hands back the book, saying that it will be useful to his son in the future, to which he replies that he cannot use it yet and it is better for his father to study it. It can help him heal. The father agrees and says that he will study it first, and then teach Wushuong. The head of king leaves the house on Zhu, and he goes to concentrate on training, believing that they will help their family get up from their knees. Head Jiang stands in front of the coffin of his murdered son. He is furious that the King family will know the same grief as himself. Zhu Zihai, standing next to him, asks to delay the revenge of the saddened father. The head of Zhang thinks that the Zhu family tried to take over the King family, and his son was in the thick of things and it was the King family that was to blame for everything. The saddened father, clenching his fists, says that he understands everything and maybe he will allow the King family to exist for a little longer.